The smell of turkey and burnt resentment fills the air. They thought I wouldn't show up. How wrong they were. The smell of turkey and burnt resentment fills the air. They thought I wouldn't show up. How wrong they were. The warmth from the chandelier barely reaches me, its golden glow spilling across the long table set with crystal glasses and polished silverware. But the cold is in the eyes that flicker toward me as I step into the room. I can see it. Elaine's sharp gaze slicing through the hum of conversation, Caleb's smirk twitching like he's waiting for the punchline, Lydia's delicate hand resting too carefully on the back of her chair as if to remind me I don't belong here. I pause just inside the doorway, my heels silent on the polished floor, letting them absorb the fact that I came. 9 years since I last stood in this house, and tonight, here I am. The air is tight, like plastic stretched too far, ready to snap. I feel it pressing against my ribs, but I keep my face smooth. This is the Carter estate, Austin's pride. Grand and ostentatious, where the family legacy is measured by the weight of the chandelier and the vintage of the wine. But none of that belongs to me. Elaine's smile is a polished blade. Well, she says, lifting her voice just enough for everyone to hear. Look who decided to grace us with her presence. Caleb chuckles, low and condescending. I thought you had more important things to do, like chasing your little projects. I move forward, slow and deliberate, letting their words roll off me like rain on glass. I've heard it all before. I take the empty seat at the end of the table, the one no one claimed, and let my eyes rest on the centerpiece, a bouquet of white lilies, too perfect to be real. Noah stands by the wall, his hands folded behind him, silent as ever. His gaze flicks to me, a barely perceptible nod. I see the faint crease at the corner of his mouth, an almost smile, an acknowledgement of the absurdity. The dinner begins and the conversation flows like wine. Thick, sweet, but with a bitter aftertaste. Caleb boasts about the Carter family's latest investment, how they're expanding into new markets, how the legacy grows stronger with each passing quarter. Elaine dabs at her mouth with a linen napkin, her posture immaculate. Lydia laughs softly at Caleb's jokes, her eyes darting to me like I'm a stain on the tablecloth. I pick at my food, the turkey dry, the cranberry sauce cloying. I let their words wash over me, tasting each veiled insult, each careful slight. Still working in tech, dear? Elaine asks, her voice smooth as silk but edged with a sneer. Not quite as glamorous as the family business, is it? Caleb leans back, swirling his wine. Must be hard, all alone in that little world of yours. I glance at my watch, the one I bought the day I walked away. It ticks steadily, the second hand sweeping past their words, a reminder of every moment they dismissed me. Noah shifts, subtle, almost imperceptible. He's watching Caleb now, his eyes narrowing just slightly. I wonder if they notice, if they understand the weight of what they're saying. But of course they don't. They never did. Elaine raises her glass in a mock toast. To family, and to those who know their place. The words land like a slap, sharp and public. My fingers tighten around the stem of my glass, but I don't drink. I don't speak. I let the silence stretch, a quiet refusal to play their game. Then, as if on cue, Noah steps forward, a folded paper slipping into my palm beneath the table. His voice is barely a breath in my ear. They used your patents. The words hit me like a stone in the chest. My breath hitches, but I keep my expression still, forcing my heart to slow even as my pulse roars in my ears. The fork in my hand trembles, and I set it down with care, my gaze fixed on the tablecloth as if it holds the answers. They used my patents. I look up, and for the first time tonight, I truly see them. Elaine's calculated elegance, Caleb's smug grin, Lydia's perfectly glossed lips curling in amusement. They thought I wouldn't show up. They thought I wouldn't know. They thought I'd stay small, silent, forgettable. They were wrong. They call it family, but it feels more like a trial. Except the verdict was decided long ago, They call it family, but it feels more like a trial. Except the verdict was decided long ago. The way Caleb's voice fills the room, confident and sharp, it's as if he's delivering a closing argument to a jury already in his pocket. He leans back, gesturing grandly, talking about the Carter legacy, about expanding markets and strategic partnerships. His words drip with self-congratulation, each phrase a brushstroke painting himself as the family's golden savior. Elaine sits poised at the head of the table, her fingers laced over a linen napkin, eyes half-lidded like a queen observing the performance of her heir apparent. Lydia laughs softly at Caleb's jokes, her smile practiced, her gaze occasionally flitting toward me. Not quite curiosity, more like watching a dog that might bark too loudly at the wrong moment. I feel the note in my lap, the weight of Noah's handwriting pressing into my palm. They used your patents. The words burn, a quiet flame spreading under my skin. My fork hovers over the plate, untouched. The turkey tastes like ashes in my mouth. Caleb's story unfolds in careful layers. A new deal with a European defense firm, a state-of-the-art manufacturing partnership in Houston, projections for record profits by next quarter. Each accomplishment, each victory, built on a foundation I didn't know they were standing on. My work, my intellectual property, twisted into their success without a single word to me. Elaine raises her glass, nodding approvingly. Your leadership has been the cornerstone of our progress, Caleb. I grip the table's edge, knuckles pale against the dark wood. My heart beats slow, heavy, the pulse of it in my ears drowning out the clink of silverware and the low hum of conversation. I glance at Noah, who stands still, his face neutral. But I see it, the subtle tension in his jaw, the way his gaze flicks from Caleb to me, sharp and precise. Then, as if on cue, Elaine's voice cuts through the chatter, smooth as polished steel. And of course, we're grateful for everyone's contributions. Her eyes land on me, cold, assessing. Even if some of us have different paths. Lydia lets out a soft laugh, too sweet to be kind. Still working on your little apps, Ava? I meet her gaze, steady, unflinching. My voice is calm, quieter than I expect. Yes, still building systems. The simplicity of the words masks the weight behind them, the silent calculation running through my head. Caleb smirks, his teeth a flash of white. Everyone needs a hobby. Noah shifts subtly, his eyes catching mine for just a breath. He leans in slightly, voice low so only I can hear. I found the contracts. They're in Caleb's office, unsigned by you. The words drop into me like a stone into a still pond, sending ripples outward, touching everything. My breath hitches, and I glance at Caleb, at Elaine, at the polished facade of their success. They built it all on stolen ground. I steady my breathing, force my shoulders to relax. I fold my hands neatly in my lap as if nothing has changed, as if I'm still the outsider they think I am. But my mind is already shifting, a quiet machine coming to life, gears turning. Caleb raises his glass, the crystal catching the light. To family success, he proclaims, grinning wide, waiting for the room to echo him. I watch the others lift their glasses, voices blending in a hollow chorus. My own glass stays on the table, untouched. I let the silence stretch. A deliberate pause, and the weight of it lands like a stone in the middle of the table. Noah's phone buzzes once in his pocket, subtle, and he slides it out with the practiced ease of a man who always knows what's coming. He shows me the screen. Just a text, a single line that feels like a hammer blow. They used your patents as collateral. The documents are ready. I look up, and for the first time tonight, the game is clear. Noah's phone buzzes. He shows Ava a text. They used your patents as collateral. The documents are ready. You can't steal what you don't understand. And they never understood me. You can't steal what you don't understand. And they never understood me. The dining room hums with the soft clatter of forks and the low, practiced cadence of Caleb's voice filling the space like smoke. He's deep into another story, This one about closing a deal with a European firm, spinning it like a masterclass in leadership, all sharp smiles and smooth gestures. Elaine nods at the right moments, her hands folded like a queen observing her prince, while Lydia sips her wine, eyes bright with admiration. At least for Caleb. I sit silent, the weight of Noah's text humming in the back of my mind. They used your patents as collateral. The documents are ready. My palms rest on my lap, calm in appearance, but my fingers press into the fabric like I'm holding a trigger under the table. The air feels thick, charged, like the moment before a storm breaks. Noah stands behind me, still and watchful. His gaze isn't on Caleb anymore. It's on me. A steady presence. A silent signal. I meet his eyes for the briefest second, and the message is clear. I turn to Caleb, my voice soft, almost casual. That deal with the European firm? Was it finalized recently? He blinks, caught off guard for a fraction of a second before slipping back into his polished grin. Just last month. Why do you ask? I smile faintly, tilting my head as if his words are a puzzle I'm working out. Oh, no reason. Just curious. Elaine watches me, her eyes narrowing slightly, a flicker of something, annoyance perhaps, or suspicion crossing her face. Noah moves then, smooth and deliberate. He steps forward and, without a word, places a folder in the center of the table. The sound of it landing is soft, but it feels like a gunshot in the quiet room. Caleb's voice falters mid-sentence. Lydia's fork clinks against her plate, a sharp, brittle sound. Elaine's gaze snaps to the folder, then to Noah, her posture stiffening, the veneer of composure cracking. "What is this?" she asks, her voice tight, clipped. Noah's tone is level, almost clinical. Documentation, loan agreements, patent filings, a full record of the Carter family's recent business activities. Caleb's face flushes red. "This is a private family matter." I interrupt, my voice calm but cutting. "No, Caleb, it's a legal matter." I open the folder, flipping to the top page, and read aloud. Patents registered under Ava Carter, used as collateral for a multi-million-dollar loan without her consent or signature. The room freezes. Elaine's breath catches, an almost imperceptible intake of air. Caleb's jaw tightens, his eyes darting to Elaine, searching for a signal. Lydia stares at the documents like they're written in a language she can't understand. I look up at them, my voice steady. "You stole from me." Caleb tries to recover, his words rushed, stumbling. "It's family business. We did what was necessary." Noah's voice cuts in, low and firm. "Necessary? Or convenient?" Elaine finally speaks, her tone brittle. "Ava, you're overreacting. We've always supported you." I hold her gaze, unblinking. "No, you've tolerated me when it was useful, and when it wasn't, you cut me out." The silence stretches, thick and suffocating. Noah clears his throat quietly, then adds, almost as an afterthought, "Oh, and the funding for the new family venture? Secured by Ava's technology as collateral." Lydia's face pales. Caleb's hands curl into fists on the table. Elaine's lips part, but no words come out. I lean back in my chair, folding my hands neatly in my lap. My heart steady for the first time tonight. Ava looks up slowly, meeting Elaine's gaze. "You stole from me, and I'm done staying quiet. They thought I'd beg for a seat at their table, but I've been building my own. They thought I'd beg for a seat at their table, but I've been building my own." The weight of the silence in the room is almost physical now, pressing against the walls, thickening the air. The chandelier above flickers, a faint tremor in the crystal prisms, as if even the light is holding its breath. I let the tension sit, coiling tighter with every second that passes. Caleb's face is red, his breathing shallow, eyes darting from the folder to me, to Elaine, then back again, like a trapped animal searching for an exit. Elaine, ever the matriarch, tries to recover, her voice brittle but polished. "Ava, You're making this into something it's not. We're family. I don't blink. Number, you're a corporation that used my work as leverage. Caleb pushes back from the table, the chair scraping harshly against the floor. This is ridiculous. You weren't even involved in the deal. You walked away years ago. We had to keep the business alive. Noah's voice is calm, deadly precise. You had no legal right. The patents were not yours to use. His presence is a blade. Silent, controlled, dangerous. Elaine's mask falters for a breath, her fingers tightening around the stem of her glass. She glances at Caleb, a silent message passing between them. Stay calm. Stay in control. But they're slipping. I lean forward slightly, my voice soft, deliberate. You took what didn't belong to you. And now you're going to make it right. Elaine's lip curls, the veneer of civility cracking. Or what, Ava? You'll sue your own family? Destroy everything we've built? The laughter that bubbles up inside me isn't sharp. It's quiet, hollow. I shake my head slowly. You built it on sand, on my work. Noah steps forward, a second folder in hand. He places it gently beside the first. No flourish, no drama, just quiet precision. This is the draft lawsuit. Full restitution of intellectual property, reimbursement for damages, public apology, cease and desist on all use of Ava Carter's intellectual assets. Elaine's breath catches. Caleb mutters something under his breath, a curse muffled by the weight of the moment. Margaret, the housekeeper, shifts near the doorway. Her voice is soft, hesitant, but it carries. I heard them talking. Weeks ago. They planned this. The words hang in the air like a dropped glass. Elaine stiffens, her eyes narrowing on Margaret, but it's too late. The damage is done. I breathe in slowly, tasting the moment, the shift in the room as the truth begins to settle like dust on a polished surface. I'm not here to beg, I say quietly. I'm here to take back what's mine. Caleb's fists clench, his knuckles white. Elaine's face is pale, her eyes cold and calculating, but her hands tremble just slightly. Lydia sits frozen, eyes wide, her fork abandoned on her plate. Noah meets my gaze, a quiet nod passing between us. The moment we've waited for. Here, now. Elaine's voice finally breaks, a thin, desperate thread. You wouldn't do that to family. I stare at her, my voice low and steady. You already did. Ava's phone buzzes. Noah shows her a text. Press has the story. Do you want it released? Ava's lips curl into a quiet, dangerous smile. There's a difference between asking for respect and demanding it. And tonight they'll learn the price. There's a difference between asking for respect and demanding it. And tonight, they'll learn the price. The room feels like it's holding its breath, a fragile bubble of tension stretched to its limit. Caleb stands, fists clenched at his sides, his chair pushed back in a sharp scrape against the floor. His chest heaves with shallow breaths, eyes wild with the realization that the game has changed. And they're losing. Elaine sits rigidly, her posture straight as a board, but her eyes are no longer steady. They dart between me and the folder on the table, the lines around her mouth pulled tight. The calculated mask she wears cracking at the edges. I remain seated, spine tall, hands folded in my lap. The calm in the storm they never saw coming. My voice is quiet, but unyielding. Here's how this is going to go. You will sign over my intellectual property. You will issue a public apology. And you will do it by tomorrow morning. Or the press releases everything. Elaine's voice sharpens, her control slipping. Ava, think about what you're saying. This could ruin us. The family name, our legacy. I cut her off, my tone clipped, precise. Your legacy was built on lies and theft. That's not my problem. Caleb's hands slam down on the table, the force rattling the silverware. You're ungrateful. Everything we've done. Noah steps forward, his presence quiet but immovable. Everything you've done has been for yourselves. His voice is steady, a subtle blade cutting through Caleb's fury. Elaine tries to soften, her tone turning almost maternal, but the desperation bleeds through. Ava, please. We can work something out. You don't have to destroy what's left of the family. I meet her gaze, my eyes cold, unflinching. You destroyed that yourselves the moment you decided I didn't matter. The storm outside intensifies, rain slashing against the windows like nature itself is trying to break in. The sound is a steady rhythm, a drum beat underscoring every word, every breath. Noah places another document on the table, the final settlement. Here's the contract. Your signature means you accept the terms: full restitution, public apology, relinquishment of all rights to Ava's work. Decline and the media will have the story before sunrise. Elaine's hand hovers over the pen, her fingers trembling. Caleb glares at me, a storm in his eyes, but says nothing. Lydia sits motionless, the weight of it all sinking into her. Her expression hollowed out, like she's realizing too late that this story doesn't have a happy ending for her either. The seconds tick by, each one loud in the silence. Noah glances at his phone, then at me. The reporters are outside. They're waiting for your signal. I inhale slowly, the air cold and sharp, and exhale just as slow. My voice is steady, each word deliberate. This is your final chance. Elaine's voice cracks, barely a whisper. You're tearing us apart. I don't flinch. Number, I'm holding you accountable. The tension in the room is palpable, a live wire sparking beneath every word. The rain drums harder. The chandelier sways slightly, as if the house itself is trembling under the weight of the truth. Caleb's voice is barely a whisper. You just destroyed us, Ava. She turns to leave. The storm rages outside, but I've never felt calmer. Let them pick up the pieces. I'm done. The storm rages outside, but I've never felt calmer. Let them pick up the pieces. I'm done. The air inside the Carter estate feels heavy, suffocating, as if the walls themselves are trying to trap me one last time. I stand slowly, my chair scraping quietly against the floor. Every eye is on me, but no one speaks. They know it's over. Elaine sits frozen, her back impossibly straight, hands clenched on her lap as if sheer posture could hold back the collapse. Her breath is shallow, her gaze unfocused, and for the first time, I see her not as the unshakable matriarch, but as a woman clutching at the last threads of a story she can no longer control. Caleb slumps in his seat, the fight drained from him, his shoulders sagging as if the weight of his own choices has finally settled in. Lydia stares down at her plate, her wine untouched, her presence shrinking into the background, irrelevant now in the wreckage. Noah stands by the door, steady and composed, the quiet force who helped tip the scales. His phone vibrates once in his hand. A glance confirms what we already know. The press is waiting. I pick up the folder Noah left on the table, slipping it into my bag without a word. The papers feel heavier than they should, but it's not the weight of paper. It's the weight of the truth. Of all the years they tried to erase me. Of the battles I fought in silence while they thrived on what they took from me. Elaine speaks, barely a whisper. Ava, please. I pause, my hand on the back of the chair, the room pulsing with the echo of her voice. I turn, meeting her gaze head on. This was never my home, I say, each word deliberate, final. And I'm not the one who destroyed this family. You did that yourselves. Caleb mutters something, a curse or a plea, but I don't care enough to listen. Lydia looks up, her eyes glassy, but she doesn't speak. Margaret stands silently in the background, her presence a quiet reminder of loyalty that was never theirs. The sound of rain pounding against the windows fills the silence, a steady, relentless rhythm. Thunder cracks, low and deep, as if the storm itself is bearing witness. Noah moves to open the door, and the cold night air sweeps in, sharp and clean. Reporters cluster outside, cameras raised, lights flickering like fireflies in the darkness. I step into the threshold, the wind catching the hem of my coat. my hair lifting slightly around my face. The flashes begin. White hot, relentless, but I don't flinch. Noah is at my side, a quiet shadow, steady as ever. "You're ready for the next step?" he asks, his voice low enough only I can hear. I glance at him, a faint smile curling at the corner of my lips, my gaze steady on the horizon. Absolutely. The door swings shut behind us, a soft final click that feels like the closing of a chapter. The Carter estate stands silent, watching, but I don't look back. Not once. As she enters the car, Noah asks softly, "Ready for the next step?" Ava smiles, eyes on the horizon. Absolutely. The storm outside mirrored the storm within the Carter estate, but as the rain poured down, Ava walked away, unshaken. The silence she left behind was heavier than any words. Proof that those who build their empires on theft and deception will one day watch it crumble beneath their feet. Justice, even delayed, had found its mark. When injustice is met with unwavering courage, the final verdict can echo through a lifetime. Sometimes the boldest act is not the battle itself, but the choice to leave the ruins behind and never look back.